Okay, looks like the waiting room has sort of cleared out a bit. Shall we get started?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I am Amy Fox. I'm the Executive Director of Lifespan, and we are so pleased to have all of you here today for our session on trauma-informed care, what to know and where to start. So for those of you who do not know, Lifespan is a comprehensive domestic and sexual violence organization that has been serving Chicago and the Northwest suburbs since 1978. And we provide really three core services for survivors. We do counseling for individuals and their children, and we do legal representation in family law and immigration. And we also assist survivors with advocacy, largely criminal court advocacy. And we're lucky to have Beisabel Velasco here today, our Director of Counseling. And I have her bio, and I'm going to read it because it is, I think, impressive enough that I do not want to leave anything out. So bear with me. So Beisabel came to Lifespan in 2018 as a bilingual Spanish counselor, and she quickly impressed us and moved to the position of senior counselor in 2021. Then in 2024, she became our director of counseling. Beisabel really prides herself in the application of holistic, ancestral, and person-centered techniques in her sessions with clients. Ancestral healing involves conversing with clients to assess their cultural backgrounds and determining what resonates with them culturally. Beisabel engages in feminist therapy and deals with cultural empowerment, particularly for women of color. And as a first-generation female graduate, Beisabel received her master's in counseling psychology with a concentration in Latino mental health from the Chicago School of Professional Psychology and received her bachelor's in psychology from Southern Illinois University. She is a licensed clinical professional counselor, and she also is credentialed in the Illinois Certified Domestic Violence Professional. So we're fortunate to learn from you today, Beisabel. So take it from here.
Beautiful. Buenos dias, everyone. Good morning. Hello, hello. Thank you for being here today. I'm going to share the PowerPoint today. We have a 30-minute presentation just to talk about, like Amy said, trauma-informed care, and what to do, where to go, what is it? So navigating all of that. All righty. So let's see. So as Amy mentioned, we have counseling, legal services, and outreach and advocacy at our agency. We have 2 locations, Des Plaines and downtown Chicago. And then all of our services are free 99, which I love, and many of our clients do as well. So this is a safe space, everybody. We're going to be talking about serious stuff, not too heavy today, just as this is the foundation of these workshops that we're hoping to do. And so take the time that you need. If you're feeling activated, step out, do your self-care techniques, but hopefully you can definitely come back to the rest of the presentation, and we can definitely chat more at the end. So what is trauma? We get that word thrown around a lot every day, all the time. Social media, I have trauma this, I have trauma that. It's a lot. So what is it? So it is a situation in which the stress caused by an event or multiple series of events, is which we see a lot with our clients, is super overwhelming, and it impairs their ability to use their normal coping techniques that they usually have. So they're no longer functioning at the way that they do day to day. So when we talk about trauma, it really does fragment the mind and disorganizes a lot of the feelings and the bodily experiences, right? They feel out of body. They don't necessarily know what's going on, high alert. So we see a lot of the physical attributions to trauma. And when we talk to clients or individuals, family, friends, whomever, is experiencing these items or these situations, it makes it difficult for them to learn in a way or make meaning out of the experience. So it is challenging at times for them to communicate or really be in the moment of what had happened or reflect back into what happened. But there's so much more. There's so much uh, internal working systems that navigate how trauma is moving through the body and through the mind and what we see. So, for quickly, because we're not going to get into the whole anatomy of the brain. However, when we go into our reptilian brain, which is the brain stem and the lower lobe, that we call uh, the reptilian brain, which is something that we have had for a long time, and that helps us to respond to dangerous situations, right? And so it goes to these 4 points, which is fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, the body responses. So when there's danger, our body does something in that moment in order to stay alive. So fawn is the newer terminology, and we may see that a lot with our client population. However, when we fight, we have angry outbursts. We actually get into altercations and confrontation. So they're really in your face, trying to get through, trying to survive in that moment. Then we have flight, is clients feeling anxious, a lot of fidgeting, which you'll probably see me do today, workaholics, overthinkers, or as the word flight, running away, leaving the situation. Then we have freeze, which is deer in a headlight situation, difficult making decisions. They're numb, they're brain fog, they're just not present in that moment. They don't necessarily know what to do. The body is just overstimulated. And then we have the fawn, which is the people pleasing. There's no boundaries. I am cooperating in order to stay alive, which we see with our clients of, well, I know if I don't feed him in this way that he is asking for, then I know the punishment is going to be worse. So I might as well do it in order to avoid B, right? And again, abuse is done by anybody and everybody. So you might hear me say him more than anything, just because, yes, as we know. But anybody and everybody can be a survivor and an abuser. So let's move on. So, what does trauma look like? So, we have two forms here. So, we have the expressed and the controlled. So the express is what we see manifest outwardly from a client. So they're crying, they're swearing, they're shouting, they're running, they're in fetal position, right? They may want to tell their story, and we see this quite a bit of that repeated cycle of telling their story. And that's them trying to comprehend what it is that actually happened and make sense of it. So you're going to hear them repeat and repeat and repeat for quite a bit until it clicks for them. It may be easy for us then with these behaviors to say, there's something going on here. There's something that's not quite right. So that may be easier for us to then navigate, okay, what's going on? How do we support the client? How do we navigate conversations? And again, this can be applied to not only clients, but any relationship that we have with others. Then the controlled portion is just opposite behavior in a way. So the survivor's energy is directed towards maintaining composure. So they might stand and look as though nothing's wrong with them. They might be smiling, responding to questions as if nothing happened, very detached, very logical, right? More, I wouldn't say cold, but not very detached and distant from what had happened. Um, and they may not want to talk about what had happened, or maybe numb to the whole experience, especially if it's fresh. It's the mind is trying to figure out what's going on, and is it safe to express myself to others. And so when they behave in this type of way, it may hinder us from recognizing if they need help, right? So if they're looking like this, you don't think they're depressed, they're going through something, but they may be. So it's always good to check in of, okay, you're here for a reason, or what's been going on. I've noticed this different behavior. Not saying that it's super unnormal or unnatural, but there's reasons why we hold back, especially when we've gone through trauma. So, what is trauma informed care? We throw that word around a lot as well. We're trauma informed. Are you trauma informed? So, it's recognizing trauma in individuals and making safe environments for our survivors, for our friends, for our families. So, recognizing what that impact does and how can I make this space the safest that it can be for that person um, to be able to talk, to be able to regulate, to be able to navigate their day to day. And so we want to provide physical, emotional, psychological safety, and empowerment, right? How do we help you feel empowered so that you can talk about what's going on, so you can navigate the systems that we fight against daily? And if I'm going too fast, just let me know. So, when we talk about trauma informed care practices, there's 6 points that we should really take into consideration. And every client, every person is going to be different. And so, we have to take into account our clients as well as our position. Are we a friend? Are we a therapist? Are we, um, a family member, etc.? So, what is our position and relationship within that, with that client or individual? So, in order to provide safety, which is number one, it's what is that? What does that mean? What does that look like for a client, for our friends? If that means safety in food, safety in space, safety in clothing, right? Basic necessities. You want to build trust, right? People who've gone through trauma, especially when it comes to domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking, there is a lot of mistrust because they did trust in someone and now they're being hurt by them. So, how do we gain our clients or our friends' trust? And what does that look like? And building rapport. And that's going to take time, right? It's not going to happen in the first session. It's definitely going to take time to warm up, to be able to discuss what's going on. Peer support, how do we help them build their support system, so that they are not isolated, that they're not alone or abandoned, that they recognize that there's others like them and they can build community. Collaboration and mutuality. So, how do we work with others? So, hey, my friend's going through this. I know this agency that does this. Let's connect with them. Or, hey, I know my client needs housing, even though that is challenging to get. I know I can talk to this other agency and see if they have space for my client. Right? So it's how do we provide the best support for our clients, and knowing that we may not be an agency that has everything. So how do we outsource? How do we then empower our client in their voice and choice? So, okay, so picking out what do you want to eat, or picking out your clothes, how do you say no, which is super hard, and just how do we build? What is the goal for these clients or individuals? How do they see themselves in the future? And then we also want to put into this the cultural, historical, and gender issues, right? Not everybody's going to fit into the same box. So there's so much intersectionality within everybody. So how do we factor those things in? Okay, I'm Latina. There is this idea of Marianismo, that I'm supposed to sacrifice myself for my partner, but I don't want to do that. But I don't want to go against my culture or my religion or whatever. And how do I factor that in to me as a therapist? How do I factor that into working with that client and the meaning and the trauma that um, may have come before them, generational trauma, all that fun stuff. So it's a lot to pack together, and there's things that we do day to day to support our clients. So some do's and some don'ts. So I'm going to go back and forth on this. What can I do? What shouldn't I do when it comes to working with someone or speaking with someone who's gone through a type of trauma? Don't put labels on them or their experience. It's easy for us to be like, oh, you've been abused, or you're a victim, and you're this and you're that. Sometimes we have clients who don't want to be called victims. They'd rather be called survivors or vice versa. So we really do, so that's the bottom part, want to mirror their language and defer to how the survivor wants to identify themselves and their experience. Maybe they're not ready to say they're survivors or victims, or if this is DV or any type of trauma. So don't start sentences, well, at least, or try to make them look on the bright side. I hate that. I think most of us are going to hate that too, of just how that can really undermine someone's experience. So do acknowledge the trauma that they're going through, recognizing that it's so hard to navigate these steps, that it's great that they at least made a call, they at least came here, right? Sorry, at least, don't use that, but you came here, right? You made these steps to move forward in whatever way that is for you. Um, don't hand them a list of resources. We do that quite a bit. We're all burnt out, stressed out. We got a million things to do. So it's good to provide a warm handoff, because our clients, when we hand that document to them of resources, they may have already called, or they're at their last, how do I say it in English? They're at their limit, essentially, of I've already called, I've already done this, no one's helping me, screw this, and may lead to more crisis situations. So, hey, you know what? I know you've called a lot of places. I know this other place, and fulano worked there, which means an individual lives there or works there, sorry. And so how do we interact with that? Do they come into the session? Do we go meet with them? Do we do a phone call? How do we get them to connect so that steps can hopefully be taken? And then don't pressure them to tell you all the details of their situations, because as we know with trauma, our brains stop functioning. Right? So our memories are impacted. Recall isn't always there. So it's good to reassure them that it's okay. Take your time in describing your story. Tell me what you know, and then we'll work into what comes up later. Right. So it's okay to not know. It's okay for memories to be locked up in your brain. What do you want to do with what you have now? Your role: advocate, support system, counselors, etc., besties. Um, it's good to distinguish between rescuing and helping, right? We want these individuals to become empowered, feel empowered, navigate the world in the way that works best for them. So we want to help. Here are some resources. Here are some things that you can do. We know that you're going through these different things, and you're fighting against a system that is very corrupt and very dangerous and not always helpful. So how can we help and guide and provide options instead of doing everything for them, right? Because that doesn't really help. Right. And we have clients that are used to that of like, well, my abuser, or I expect you to help me with everything because that is how I was raised, or that is um, because I was so limited and isolated. I don't know how to do anything. So I expect you to do everything because you have connections. Right. So we're here to help. Resist re-traumatization. So when we're talking to clients or friends, letting them express what they want to express or need to express in that moment. And if you need to, for like legal components, ask more in-depth questions. How do we build safety with that? Of, okay, like this is going to be a challenging conversation because we're going to ask for dates and details for the VAWA or your court case that is coming up. What have you done to take care of yourself during, before, and after so that we can utilize that during our meetings? Always assess for safety, identify their immediate needs, what it is they want. Is there danger in this moment, and how do we help them get away if they want to get away or stay safe in those situations? Is there medical attention? Are you hurt in any type of way? Um, excuse me, do they have a safe place to stay? Who's part of their support system? And this is going to be an ongoing conversation of safety planning and navigating all of that so that they can have that control. So thinking about your environment. So clients come to our offices or they see us virtually. How do we make the space and our agency more trauma informed, more comfortable, more soft for them to feel that they can come in and trust us, right? So that is going to depend on, is your area noisy, right? Is there construction going outside your window? Is it cozy or sterile, right? I have a bunch of plants and my clients love it as well to have that nature in session. So how do I make that warm? Having some blankets, choosing your lighting. Sometimes the fluorescent lights are just too much. So maybe using natural light or having a dim lamp, something that makes your room a little bit more comfortable. And so can other people overhear your conversations? Even if you have the white noise machines, can they still hear? So, and not only making your space comfortable, but also making your agency comfortable of, okay, who's greeting our clients in the front? Are they nice? Are they talking type of way? Can clients hear el chisme, right? Can they hear gossip going on between coworkers? So how do we show up so that they feel comfortable and safe? Who's picking up the phone, right? So it's just thinking of these little details that have big impact. We're almost out of time. Oh no. So adapting our goals and focus. So we really want to not assume that, wait, if we assume that presenting issues are not related to trauma, then we're going to miss an opportunity to help. So if we assume trauma may be playing a role, it might not be in the forefront, but it may be there, then we may begin to pay attention to signs of trauma and be able to navigate and ask different types of questions to get to the foundation and how to best support our clients. So we have a client that's missing their morning appointments 3 times in a row. Okay, why? Why is that? How do I talk to them? Oh, they're working third shift, so maybe the mornings aren't available. How about we do it later time? So it's just having those questions and thinking about it so that the client can succeed. Self-care, we're at the end, y'all. So we are working with a population that is very challenging because we hear so many hard stories. We're going against systems that aren't always helpful, generational trauma, and things like that. So it does impact us hearing and going through that with them. So it's important to recognize, where am I? Am I emotionally exhausted? Am I not wanting to come into work? Do I not care about what's happening, not only with the client, but at work, right? So it's really important to recognize your position in this. Um, and I know we want to help, but we also have to take care of ourselves. So taking a moment, right? They always say "ponte las pilas" in Spanish, and that translates into put your batteries on. However, your batteries are going to drain, and you need to recharge them, just like your cell phones. They're eventually going to drain, and you need to recharge them in order to be able to use them. And it's good. Self-care is going to look very differently for everybody. Sometimes it's ice cream, sometimes it's walking, sometimes it's meditation, sometimes it's being with your friends or family. So it's going to look very differently for everybody. And finding time and space where you can feel at peace. You can re-energize mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, in all these different ways, so that you can do the best for you and for others as well. The saying I like that I heard a couple of years ago: you can't set yourself on fire to keep others warm. So remember, taking care of you is important and number one. And that is that. That is us. Um, Thank you, everybody. Any questions, concerns? That went so fast.
Beisabel, you did an amazing job packing that into the time limit. I don't see any questions in the chat or the Q&A. But if anyone wants to throw one in there, you're welcome to, while I'm thanking Beisabel for doing a fantastic job of really setting the stage for us to do future workshops and to explore trauma more in depth. So without seeing any questions, we will say goodbye. Thank you,
Thank you,
Beisabel. Thank you, everyone.
everyone.